there's this huge placebo effect, and when people have these different mental illnesses, like we don't really know a lot of time how to solve them. But the thing is, the power of belief works really well. And yeah, transition. Um, there's like this whole gender euphoria thing with testosterone. It is very euphoric. I think, and this is the tricky thing, and I think that's why we're gathered here, is that we don't really hear the downsides of transition, right? We only hear about, oh, this is this euphoric thing that's going to be life changing, affirming it's going to be this person's real authentic self, and it makes us all good people for affirming, these trans kids, because we have to save them from themselves, from suicide. I don't know. I think just sharing stories of people who have gone through transition, who were or maybe still identify as trans, but found, hey, like there are some issues with this, and there are other ways we can deal with this. Whether that's recognizing there's maybe autism, maybe there's internalized homophobia, there's other kinds of traumas. I think just people being more aware that there's this other side of transition that isn't the rosy side of transition.
Prisha Mosley, a detransitioned woman who began taking testosterone at just 17 years old, is now suing the doctors who enabled her transition. Prisha was young, confused, and battling mental health problems when clinicians fast-tracked her into transgender care for profit, and what she really needed was therapy. Sadly, the treatments left her with irreversible effects, and she will not be able to breastfeed and may be infertile. Prisha is one of many detransitioners who are taking legal action against their medical providers in lawsuits that could prove pivotal in America's heated debate about transgender rights and medical procedures, especially those on children. Her doctors are accused of various fraud charges, civil conspiracy, medical malpractice, negligent infliction of emotional distress, and unfair and deceptive trade practices. A recent survey of 1,000 adults across the United States found that Americans were largely against quote-unquote gender-affirming procedures for children, with some 61% rejecting giving puberty blockers to 12-year-olds and only 21% saying it was acceptable. They also deemed cross-sex hormones and breast surgeries unacceptable by similar margins. Prisha has started a GoFundMe to help raise funds for breast reconstruction to help her feel more comfortable in her body. Please consider donating. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shape. I started identifying as transgender at 22 while still in college. Before that, I was just a feminine gay man. Being asked about my pronouns led me to research transgender ideology, and pretty quickly I got convinced that I was a transgender woman. I was able to get hormones relatively easily through Fenway Health, and was only on them for a year before receiving facial feminization and breast augmentation surgeries at 23. Taking hormones actually worsened my mental health, but therapists thought that it was because I was stuck in the wrong body. They cleared me for sex reassignment surgery by diagnosing me with gender identity disorder. Immediately after SRS, I was super excited to start a new life. I was happy for a few months while recovering. However, soon I realized that my new part wasn't what doctors promised me. My new vagina started constricting despite rigorous dilation, which resulted in me developing vaginal stenosis. This left me unable to have penetrative sex, which adversely impacted my mental health. I also lost my sex drive, my motivation to achieve anything, and became brain fogged and lethargic. I had multiple unsuccessful revisions attempting to get a few inches of neovaginal tunnel. I even had colon vaginoplasty. The last revision was at the University of Miami by Dr. Cristobal Salgado in 2018, and it left me with a colorectal fistula. I've been all over the country trying to seek help, but I have received none. Earlier this year, after hitting rock bottom with my depression, I reached out to a new therapist. This therapist helped me realize that I have complex PTSD from a traumatic childhood, and also pointed out that I have body dysmorphia, OCD, borderline personality, and bipolar disorders. I also realized I had internalized homophobia. I realize now that medical transition was sold to me as a hardware fix for software issues. A few months ago, I started detransitioning by taking testosterone. However, it is traumatic to be on testosterone without having functional genitals. Moreover, my back hurts every day due to osteoporosis and scoliosis that I developed post-SRS. I'm now dependent on synthetic hormones for life. I traded my perfectly healthy genitals for an artificial 1-inch tunnel that is sexually non-functional. I realized realized that I'm never getting back a functional penis, and full detransition is not really possible in my case. I feel stuck in surgically created body. I believe nobody under 18 should be allowed to medically transition. Sex reassignment surgery should only be allowed in very rare cases after a full psych evaluations. Patients should be made aware that what they're really getting is a cosmetic surgery, and it's a general approximation surgery that does not change biological sex. Thank you.
If you would like to help SHAPE and other detransitioners hold their providers accountable in a court of law, please consider contributing to their legal expenses. You can do so by visiting www.transitionjustice.org. Thank you.